I just got back from an 80-ish mile, 4.5-day backpacking trip on the Centennial Trail. So what gear worked for me? What didn't? What do I wish I would have had? What do I wish I would not have brought? Let's talk about it. Like I said in the intro, I just got back from South Dakota, the Centennial Trail. It's a 125-mile trail that runs from Wind Cave National Park, like through Rushmore and Custer and everything, and ends up at Bear Butte State Park. Last year I did the first 40. This year's goal was to do the last 80, and I'm going to talk about all the gear that I use on this trip. Let's start with the things that I was wearing, and then we'll dive into the pack. I got a new hat. This one is from Cotopaxi. It's one of those lightweight, breathable, like runners type hats. It's got that 80s feel to it, which I kind of thought was cool. The brim is kind of flat. I don't know. I just wanted something a little bit different, something that looked a little kooky. And I think this fit the bill. It worked well because it was very, very breathable. I don't think it performed as well as my outdoor research cap. This one performs better. This one I think looks a little cooler. So I guess a lot of it depends on how much sweating I plan on doing. Down to the shirts. This is a t-shirt, the 80/20 Ag Tee from Appalachian Gear Company. It's their blend of alpaca, wool, and tencel fibers, and I wore this against my body the whole trip, well, except for the last day, and it's fine. I haven't even washed it yet, and I sweat a ton on this trip, and it doesn't smell. It's amazing. So the Appalachian Gear shirt performed very, very well. And then over that, pretty much the whole time, is the same kind of material, but just in a hoodie form. This is their sun hoodie, their 80/20 sun hoodie, again with that tencel. And this thing got salty, it got wet, it got crazy. And it doesn't smell like body odor. I don't know how that works, but it's amazing because I wore these for 4 days straight. I will say one thing about the hoodie though. This is a sun hoodie, so it's lighter weight. It's meant to keep the sun off of you, right? There's no adjustments for the hood, which I didn't mind so much. But for a sun hoodie, I wish it would have had thumb holes because the back of my hands did get a little burned. I mean, not like sunburned crazy, but just a little. It would have been nice to have thumb holes to pull down to help protect the back of your hands. So Appalachian Gear Co., if you're watching, put some thumb holes in these things, and you could have yourself a perfect sun hoodie. Also, this particular one, their Tencel blend one, they're size small. I usually wear a large. I had to order an extra large in the t-shirt and the hoodie. And as we come down on the bottom half, right against my skin, I wore these Saxx, S-A-X-X boxer briefs. What's kind of cool about this is they got a little pouch to separate your boys from the rest of you. And these worked fine. Again, I haven't washed it, and they don't smell crazy. They smell a little bit more than the tops, but yeah, these perform great. No chafing, nothing like that. Over those, I wore some tights. Now these are just regular like tights I bought from like Target. Nothing special, just to kind of help keep the sun off my legs, give me a little bit of compression. And there were some cool mornings, and it was nice to have this little layer of warmth in the mornings, but it did get pretty hot in the afternoon. But tights are good. I wish I would have had a lighter pair for like summer use. Over that, some running shorts, like shorty short. Again, I think these are from Target. They're nothing special. There's no pockets or anything. I do wish this had like hand pockets. I wish the sun hoodie had hand pockets. I had nowhere to put my hands. But they worked well, and if I didn't want to wear my tights, I could wear just this, obviously. On my feet, I wore Darn Tough socks. These are just their light hiker crews, and the Darn Toughs are amazing. They're very durable. They don't smell like crazy. They dry fast. So Darn Tough is the way to go. On my feet, I have the Topo Athletic Ultra Venture 2s, Ultra Venture 3s, something like that. Got these last year, and they worked pretty well. I did have this weird binding issue in the heel where like the foam kind of folded over inside of itself, and it created this little ridge that kind of was a little irritating. That could have caused a blister. I ended up just cutting the material and unrolling it, so that's why you have these two little things there. But then I did put some new insoles in here just for a little bit added cush. And these are made by Curex. I don't know, I thought they felt wonderful in these shoes, and they worked out really, really well. I did get a blister on each heel, on the outside of the heel, but I always get blisters there. I think they're like pinch blisters more so than rub blisters, and I've gotten those in all my shoes, so that's just how it is, I guess. But these shoes performed well. They didn't really get wet. There were no really wet stream crossings, but these did perform okay. After a 25-mile day, though, my feet were barking. Some of the other things that I was carrying as I was hiking, of course, we got trekking poles. These are by Cascade Mountain Tech. These are the carbon version. They're a fantastic trekking pole. They're on Amazon. They're cheap. There is a little attachment on these poles, and I'll share what these attachments are here in just a little bit. Carried my tripod so I can film my adventures, right? And I got this little aqua clip thingy so I can hang it from my sternum strap as I was hiking, and it was always right there at the ready, and it worked. It worked really well. It really did. And then towards the bottom, I had a fanny pack. This is just a small Patagonia, like micro fanny pack. This carried literally just the snacks for the day, drink mixes, things like that. In here I have some like toothpicks. And then I had a travel wallet. I don't carry my full wallet on backpacking trips. This particular wallet is by Apex Giant. Just your incidentals, your driver's license, credit card, medical card, and some cash. That's all you really need. Also, inside of the fanny pack, carry just a little pack towel. I used it to wipe sweat, and in the morning I used it to kind of dry off the tent. A little tip about drying off your tent or your hammock tarps in the morning, all that dew you get, it soaks this, and what's nice is you can use that dew, that wetness, to wash your face, to wash parts in the morning to kind of help you get refreshed. Yeah, it was kind of nice. Let's move on to the pack. I'm gonna start on the outside, and we're gonna dive right in here. Just to let you know, my pack weight, all in, that's with food, water, I mean everything, and I carried all the food, and it, you know, got lighter as it went, but this was just over 22 pounds total for 4 days worth of food and everything in here. So just keep that in mind if you guys care about that thing. You know there's some out there that really, really do. The pack itself is by Waymark. It is a frameless pack, no hip belt pack, and it's their through 40 liter. So you got basically just a main tube and then outer pockets equaling your 40 liters. Let's start on the side here. On one side, I did carry my sit pad, and I use this for, you know, outside the tent, for sitting, for laying, and it worked out okay. I really, really wish, however, I would have brought my Helinox Chair Zero on this trip, because my pack wasn't very, very heavy, and there were times where we were just lounging, whether it was at camp or maybe on like a little lunch break. I wanted a place to sit down and lean back without having to be, you know, all the way on the ground. Just the comfort of a chair would have been just extremely nice. I would not have needed the underquilts. With it being so dry out there, I probably would not even needed, you know, the chair pad, and I could have just brought the chair and used it as is. Now, I'm glad I had this. I wish I had this. Also on the outside of the pack, I did carry some camp shoes. These are from Zero. They're very, very thin. You know, they weigh like, I don't know, maybe like 8 ounces for the pair, maybe less than that. It was nice to be able to change into another pair of shoes at the end of the day. Help your toes wiggle, help your feet breathe a little bit. And these were okay. I low-key wish I would have brought Crocs. I know there's people who hate Crocs, but they're super comfy. The only downside about Crocs is they're just super bulky. Don't necessarily mind the weight, but they're super bulky. So the fact that I had camp shoes, I don't think I needed them. At least not these. We'll turn it around to the other side pocket. And here's where I carry my cook kit. Now this is the, you know, BRS canisters. Those are fuel can in here, a titanium cup. If you want to know more about my cook kits, I'll link a video down below where you can see the things that I carry. Also in this pocket, I carried my water filter, and this was the Be Free by Katadyn, just the 1 liter. The flow rate on this was spectacular. It did slow down after day 2, pretty significant, I think because the water sources out there are very silty and it clogged this up pretty quickly. So I just have to do a better job at cleaning this out and flushing it out after each use, I think. But overall, I was pretty happy with it. On the shoulder straps, I carry 2 700 ml water bottles, and I don't think I needed any more than just this. There were a couple times we got kind of short on water, but I just filled this up and carried it along, and I was fine. The thing is about the Centennial Trail, there's a lot of unreliable water sources. You kind of have to pay attention to that. And if you're going a little bit later in the year, meaning like late May into June, July, where it's really hot and desolate and deserty, I would probably carry a lot more water. But for when we were there, I thought that worked just fine. Also on the shoulder strap, the Garmin InReach Mini. It was nice to have people back home track where I was going. I was able to message Jeremy, Midwest Backpacker, because he was on the trail as well, hiking the opposite way. We could kind of give each other updates on the trail and how we were doing. So the Garmin InReach Mini should go on all your trips. Let's go to the junk drawer of backpacks. Right on top, rain gear. This is an Enlightened Equipment Visp rain jacket. Wore it for about 5 minutes one day. Also from Enlightened Equipment is their Copperfield wind pant. This was nice to have at camp and early in the morning. It just knocks down that chill, keeps in a little bit of warmth, and it packs down to almost nothing. They're not waterproof, but having that extra layer on your legs was nice. And then we got the kits. All the kits. First aid kit, poop kit, Ditty bag. If you want to see my video about kits, I'll link that below as well, because I do a lot about kits. One thing I want to bring your attention to, I was using a gadget for this trip, brand new and kind of brand new to the market as well, and you can see them mounted right here, right? They're little magnets. Now ideally, I think they're designed to go on the compression straps on the side. It didn't work as well for me in that configuration, because these are strings, they're not straps, so there's less surface area to clamp onto. Here, there's a little bit of bungee and a little bit of grow grain here. And I was able to fashion and affix these magnets to the back of the pack, so these were hanging there. These correspond with magnets that I put on my trekking poles, and I was able to walk around and stow my trekking poles on the go. As I was walking, if I needed to do something with my camera or check a map, I can literally just take one of these poles and stow it back here and let it hang. Now the one thing I will say about them, the magnet attachments, I wish they came in a couple of different sizes, because I would have liked to have had the magnets up here towards the top of my trekking pole, but the diameter was too big for the magnet, so I had to put them towards the bottom. So my trekking pole is actually hung upside down, point up on this particular trip. So spuds, if you're watching, maybe make another size bigger for fatter trekking poles. All in all, I thought the little gadget, the stick stashers, worked really well. It took a lot of getting used to. You kind of had to feel it, and then I finally got it. So if you're not a patient person, this is going to drive you mad, and you probably wouldn't see the benefit of it. But for me, for filming, it was nice just to be able to stash these and go whenever I wanted to. Let's dive into the pack. Right on top of the pack, which is one of the first things I will remove, is my food bag. Now I had 4.5 days of food in here and snacks and everything, and as each day came, I reloaded my fanny pack with the snacks, and this stayed in my bag until basically we got to camp. The one thing I will suggest is bring extra Ziplocs, gallon-sized and quart-sized bags, for garbage, for things that leak, anything like that. They weigh nothing, take up no room. Keep these in your food bag. Other things to keep in mind, especially if you're in bear country, keep your spoons in here, keep your toothpaste in here, that kind of thing, and hang them. And we did hang bear bags on this trip. Right below the food bag is my electronics kit. This stays underneath the food bag to offer it a little bit of rain protection. And this has my battery bank, headlamp, different charging cables, just the electronics. And this bag is very highly water resistant. Waterproof material. You got your AquaGuard zipper, so this is why it stays underneath my food bag. And then as I get to camp and start to cool down and the chill starts to set in, I carry a puffy. This is Enlightened Equipment, their Torrid Apex jacket, size large, worked really well, compresses well. It is synthetic, but yeah, I love it, and it doesn't stink. Then we get into the sleep systems. This is my sleeping bag. I've had this thing since 2014. It's a 30-degree Nemo Nocturne 30. They don't even make it anymore. But I've taken care of it. It works extremely well. It kept me more than warm on this trip because the lowest temp it got, I think, was like 24 or 28. I was completely fine. It compresses well, and I store it responsibly so the down doesn't get compromised too much. But yeah, a sleeping bag because I did ground sleep on this trip. And for comfort, another Nemo product is their Tensor regular wide sleeping pad. Now, I don't roll it or anything like that. I just deflate it, fold it, and just stick it in my pack, and this basically rests against my back in the pack. We got my pillow. This is the Mega Pillow by Xped. This thing is like a full-size pillow, and it's fairly small. This thing is awesome for ground sleeping. Now we get into just extra clothes. Now, for sleeping, I did bring a pair of just tights, like insulated, not tights, just insulated bottoms. I bought these at Walmart, Realtree. You know, they're a couple of bucks, and it was nice to have a fresh pair of pants at the end of the day. It alleviated some constriction and compression down there, just kind of freed everything up while I slept. An extra beanie cap, an insulated one, like I said, when you're at camp or even sleeping, you know, that extra warmth on your head, nice and dry. And then I brought 2 extra pair of socks, and I used all of them. You know, these got wet and sweaty, and I just revolved them out, and they were completely fine. Could I have gotten away with 2 pair of socks? Yes, I could have. And a question I get asked a lot, well, don't you use a pack liner just in case it rains? Yes, I do. This is a Nilo fume pack liner that I keep in the bottom of the bag. It did threaten rain a couple times. I ended up using it once on this trip, and I really didn't need it, but it was nice to know that I had just in case I needed to pack my bag in the morning for it to protect all my gear. That is the backpack. All in all, I would say this was a pretty darn good loadout, but you might be thinking, wait a minute, you're missing something. Well, aren't you super observant? Sleep system, what did I sleep in? We slept in the Durston X-Mid 2. It is a 2-person tent, trekking pole tent, very lightweight, compacts really, really well. This tent worked out extremely well. Janelle, she carried this in her pack for the first couple of days because I had all the food. Now, once we got 2.5 days worth of food gone from my food bag, I then carried this in my pack to help offload some of that weight from her and put it back on me. So, yes, I did sleep in a tent on this trip. That is the loadout. That is the gear that I used on this trip. Some things that I wish I would have brought. Yes, I wish I would have brought my chair. It would have been nice to have a little bit more food because we did run into a food situation. Could have left an extra pair of socks home. But other than that, the loadout was pretty darn good. If you have any questions about any of the gear that I use or the method to my madness, leave those questions, leave the comments down in the area below. I'm happy to answer any of the questions I can. And if you like this video, consider subscribing to the channel. That way you don't miss any of the videos that drop. Hit the bell notification so we can send you a message that says, hey, there's a new Rob Pelton video that you want to check out. Otherwise, be sure to get yourself out on trail, find your own adventure, and see as much of this big, beautiful world as you can. See you on the next one.